Namaste everyone here in booktube. Welcome to my channel Hamsavahini Vajra Astra. I'm Ahuna. Today's video is going to be about my TBR share for Nonfiction November. Now Nonfiction November is a month-long readathon which focuses mainly on reading nonfiction books, and the basic criteria being that we have to read at least one nonfiction book. This readathon had been created and put together by Olive from a book Olive, and I have posted a link to her announcement video in the description box below. I have also posted a link to Emma's video from A Cup of Books because she has been helping us to create, or she has been giving us book suggestions to create our TBRs. Now, for this particular readathon, of course. Now, Olive has given us 4 words around which we could create a TBR, and we can interpret them in any way that we want to. So, what I have done is taken those 4 words and I've created my TBR around Indian classical dance, which I am an initiate of, and I was initiated at the age of 4.5, and also Indian classical yoga, in which I had been initiated at the age of 24, and I completed one form of such yoga at the age of 33. So that is one form of yoga which is completely done. But I would like to go for other forms of yoga as well, and I would like to delve deeper into my dance. I could not pursue or continue my dance after the age of about 22 because of the very fact that first I was in engineering college at that point of time, and also at the age of 24 when I started with my Indian classical yoga, there was no such restriction that you won't be able to give a dance performance or you won't be able to play any classical Indian instrument, because it was in fact encouraged. But I never did that because I wanted to focus mainly into the deeper aspects of yoga, which I did. So I went deeper into meditation, which included the subtle body systems according to the Eastern subtle body system techniques, which I successfully, I would say, completed. Or when I say completed, I successfully was able to understand how do we get into our subtle body systems, create the psychic knots, etc. Within our body, and then changed our levels of consciousness. So that is something which I did, and I completed that by the age of 33, which is a span of 9 years from 24 to 33. So it helped me to get a work-life balance as well, post which I had already been initiated into Indian classical instrument, which was sitar. I started off with sitar, but then I had a huge break in between, so I'm deciding to start off with my dance and my sitar again. So this was the best opportunity that I could find to read the books, because I had already collected these books, but then I wanted to find an opportunity to read them. So this readathon gives me the opportunity to read all these books and start with my dance as well as my sitar once again. So the 4 words which Olive had given us, the first word was time. So for this I have chosen 2 books. One is The Yoga of Time Travel, which has been written by Fred Alan Wolfe PhD, and this is all about not only traveling time, but it is also going beyond time through meditation techniques. And from the back of the book, as what I could read, I'm just going to tell this in short. It's all about quantum physics, which supports the claim and explains simple terms such as black holes, wormholes, and parallel universes, all explored through meditation techniques of yoga. So this is something which I'm quite interested in, and I would like to know how they can pursue time travel through meditation techniques. Now this is something which was prevalent even during the time of the Rishi Munis in the Vedic ages in the Indian subcontinent. So the Vedic seers could actually travel time, and in the Vedic system we could say that our life cycle, not our life cycle, but the Earth's life cycle was divided into 4, or let's say not the Earth, I'm sorry, it is the creation cycle. The entire creation cycle can be divided into 4 time scales, which are called as yugas. So you have Satyuga, you have Tritiya Yuga, you have Dwapar Yuga, and you have Kali Yuga. So at the moment we are in Kali Yuga as what they say, but there is also talks that it could be Kriti Yuga. So Kriti Yuga is a yoga, or it's a time of work. It's not yoga, it's yuga. I'm really sorry about that. So this is something which they could do. So they could travel from Satyug, which is one timeline, to Kalyug, which is another timeline. And this is something which I have experienced in yoga as well, that it is possible to go back and forth. And of course I have not exactly done time traveling meditation, which is what this book focuses on, but what I have learned is that the Vedic seers used to transcend to a limit, or to, not a limit, there's no such limiting factor when it comes to yoga, but they used to transcend to a space wherein they were above the space-time continuum, and therefore they were able to understand the entire I would say cycle of what we call as time, because according to I would say the Indian texts, or the sacred texts of India, time is just an illusion. So it is just a phase in which the vibrational frequency of the universe is going to change because of a lot of factors. So once the universe starts expanding, the entire space-time continent of a particular framework is going to reduce, and it's going to become denser, and the denser it becomes, the more it goes into the next phase, as I would say. So when we talk about Kali Yuga, as per the, which is the supposed to be the current yuga which is going on, so it's not even reached the middle of it. So what we understand is that it is going to try and become more denser. So the space-time continent becomes denser, and it's difficult for a normal person, or on a collective basis we would say it is difficult for the connectivity to pursue. So the connectivity between human beings, the connectivity between the plants and the animals and the ecosystem, it's very different, and it's going to be basically divided into subunits. So this is something that I have read and I have explored in the yoga system which I had been initiated into and which I had completed. But this is something which the yoga of time travel is something I'm very interested in, so let me see where I get from there. Now the next book which I have chosen for time is a book which does not involve yoga, and it is The Speed of Time, and this has been written by Sharad Nalawde, and it gives us the basic concepts about what could be a logical explanation of time travel, and it gives us there is a lot of things which are written at the back. So the speed of time approaches from the back. This is, I'm reading from the back. The speed of time approaches the most complex and esoteric theories of science in lucid, clear and simple language, and in the style of a thriller, leaving you wanting more while addressing questions through enigmatic theories in physics such as quantum mechanics, Einstein's theory of relativity, time, chaos and much more. So this is just a small part that I have mentioned. There's a lot which is written over here at the back. I'm not reading everything out, otherwise it's going to unnecessarily stretch this entire video. So these are the two books which I have chosen for time. So this is The Yoga of Time Travel and The Speed of Time. So the next word is movement. Now for this I have chosen two books. The first is a reform movement, which is the Devadasi movement. Now Bharatanatyam is a dance which is a reformed dance, or reformed version of the original dance form, which is Sadar-Attam, and Sadar-Attam was actually practiced by a special group of individuals in the societies who were known as Devadasis. Now the term Devadasi today is a very, I would say it's a term which is not welcomed. It is a term which is associated with prostitution. It is a word which is associated with poverty. It is a word which is associated with poor women in the temple who are born illegitimately, which is absolutely wrong, because the original tradition of Devadasi were that they were extremely pure, extremely spiritual, and extremely powerful women who had the art of dance to such an extent that they were the main spiritual hub of the entire temple. So they used to take up residence in the temple, and they were supposed to be married to the gods, as they say, and also they had the ability to dance with such a devotion, such a fervor, and with such purity that the gods had to descend on earth, and they used to bless everything in the temple, which is why Indian temples were supposed to be very pure, and they were supposed to be sacred sanctum of the divine, and they were the main, I would say the main heart of the city's activities. So this is something which I always wanted to read about, because there is a movement, there's a huge movement which has been ongoing in South India for a very long time, and it is to reinstate the original I would say tradition of the Devadasis. So I have chosen this book, Women of Pride, which has been written by Lakshmi Vishwanath, and this book explores everything about the Devadasis. This is how the Devadasis have been reinstated now. Okay, so I'm just going to read from the back of this book, which states that Devadasi, Rajadasi or Kucheri Dasi. Devadasis have acquired a variety of definitions and roles over the years. Women of Pride studies in depth the Devadasi tradition and its transformation into a living cultural phenomenon in the context of Hindu tradition. The book brings into focus the activities and identities of the Devadasi and examines the functions and forms of the Devadasi tradition. The changing face of the tradition has been authenticated and given a voice by the author by featuring some of the most prominent Devadasis of our times. The book also examines the Devadasi reform movement in a political, religious and social context. So this is something which I'm quite interested to read about, because most of the dance which I'm seeing today after a decade is all based on the Devadasi tradition, and they are trying to relive this tradition. So frankly speaking, this is the tradition which is being I would say showcased even in the cultural events abroad, because this is the original tradition of Bharatanatyam. So they are not exactly doing sadhanatyam, which involves a lot of devotion, spiritual observances and practices, etc. But they are actually doing Bharatanatyam, but the dance form is inspired from sadhanatyam. So they are just trying to reform exactly what, not reform I would say, but they're going to bring in the old traditions back. So this is something which I'm quite interested to read about. The second book which I've chosen around movement is The Dance of Shiva, which are a collection of essays on Indian art and culture. So when we say Dance of Shiva, dance means movement, and Shiva is the lord of dance, so it went very well with it. And there is no better book that I could I would say I would associate with when it comes to Indian dance than reading about the essays which have been written by Ananda, Coomaraswamy. I have not read much about this author, but I have heard that his essays are excellent, and he is actually the curator of the Indian Art Museum at Boston. And therefore I'm quite interested in reading his work. So this will give me an in-depth idea about how Indian art, Indian dance forms are relevant to the Indian art and culture. So that would be the second word. Now for the third word is buzz. So for buzz, the first book that I chose was by Bhavna okay, let me just pronounce this correct. Bhavna Karnani Killa. So this is Bee Magical, and it's all about bees because bees make a buzzing noise. So this is a self-improvement book, and I have not read a self-improvement book for the past 5 years because I was big on reading self-development and self-improvement books since the age of 20. So that was quite long ago, and for the past 4 to 5 years I've not picked up any of any books on self-development or self-improvement, so I'd rather start with this. So this is supposed to be a very nice book, and I have heard a lot of good things about this book. Now there's a lot which is written at the back, and this looks to be a long video, so I'm not going to spend much time, but it's all about bringing out the best version of yourself. So I'll read this book and make a book review on it. Now the other book which I've chosen for the word buzz is this, which is Rasa. Now Rasa is performing the divine in India, and it has been written by Susan L. Schwartz. And as we know, whenever we perform dance, it always creates a buzz. How to create that buzz is all about Rasa. Rasa is the technique through which you infuse that divine unique element which is coming from a dancer to fuse the audience, the attention of the audience, with the dance which you're doing and connect him with the divine. So this is all about the performance arts and how to perform to create that buzz. So it's something of a memorable experience which you create and stir within. So the next book that I had chosen for discovery was Yoga, which has been written by David Frawley, and I really appreciate and love the work of David Frawley. He is an excellent teacher and his works are excellent. So and because this had Nataraja in front, so I really wanted to know more about it. If you really notice, this book is has very nice illustrations, as well as the content of this book is something which I was really struck with, and it is beautifully written, beautifully illustrated. It gives a lot about the yoga traditions, so I'm quite interested in reading this. So yoga is a path of self-discovery. So for the word discovery, this is the book which I had chosen. The next book that I had chosen for this particular word is, this has been written by Dr. Padmaja Suresh, and this is Tantra, the science, and Natya, the art. So it not only talks about the spiritual art of Tantra, which is to balance the masculine and the feminine within, but it also defines how Natya, which is dance form, which can be used to balance the inner and the outer realms, and the inner masculine and the inner feminine, as well as within performance you can also demonstrate the divine masculine and the divine feminine. So this is something which I'm quite interested in, because it gives us spiritual traditions as well as dance traditions, and how dance can be converted and is converted into a sacred form of art. So those are the books that I had chosen, and frankly speaking, this particular book is also about discovery. So it is all about discovering the uniqueness which you can contribute to the field of dance, and the uniqueness which you can bring about in the performance of the dance, as well as the discovery of the self and of the soul which you bring about through dance. So this is something which I'm quite interested in reading. So these are the 4 or the 8 books that I chose for these 4 words. So I'm just going to share them once again. So this is for the first prompt, which is, or the first word, which is time. Okay, so that's the yoga of time travel as well as the speed of time. That would be for the first prompt. The second prompt was to read a book which had or to read books on movement. So the first was the Devadasi movement, and the second was Dance of Shiva, Dance as Movement, and Essays on Dance, which is based on movement. And the third was about buzz. So the first book which I chose was For Self-Improvement, Be Magical, and here was Rasa, which is to create buzz with your performance. And the fourth was Discovery. So this is yoga as classical yoga as self-discovery, and to discover the sacred form of dance and yoga through Tantra. So this is which is also another way of self-discovery. So these are the books that I have chosen, and that would be my TBR. So those are the books that I've chosen for Nonfiction November. I don't know how much I will be able to complete, because we have Diwali as well. So 3 weeks I will be quite busy with Diwali, but I will try to pick up these books as much as possible. The time that I can actually read this is the last part of the 3rd week of November and the last week of November. I have created this TBR, 8-book TBR, so that I can continue reading it even in the month of December, although I will do my wrap-up in the probably in the 1st or the 2nd week of December. So let's see where I get from there, and I hope that I'll be able to at least complete 4 books out of this entire TBR, which is why I created it in 8 books. So with this, I will meet you once again with a book review, as well as with the books that I complete next time that we meet. So thank you so much for joining me, and have a good reading week ahead. Namaste.